Just when you thought cricket had enough formats, here comes T10. Because who needs patience anyway? It's fast, furious, and over before you can even say power play. But what if Team India joined the party? Join me in this solo pod as we build the ultimate Indian T10 11, a team so explosive they might just finish the game in 6 overs. Buckle up for stats and a whole lot of imagination because this is the cricket format you didn't know you needed. Welcome back to the new episode of the Reverse Sweep Show. As you must have noticed in the hook of the episode, this is going to be a solo pod. The reason? My co host SS is off on a Christmas vacation, enjoying his time somewhere in the north of Europe. So I thought I will come here, record this podcast, and discuss an interesting topic for today. And as you notice, I'm directly getting into the topic because I want to avoid the topic of the status on what has happened with the BGT team that we had created. The third test, I would say I'll wait for SS to come because I got to give him those bragging rights. So for today, we'll not talk about it. Instead, we'll get right into the topic for today. There is so much action that has gone on in the cricketing world of late, but amidst all of that, another season of Abu Dhabi T10 League just concluded earlier this month. That got me thinking that there are so many cricketing formats if we think about it. Test cricket, which started in 1877, ODI cricket, the first match played in 1971, T20Is, the first match played in 2005, T10 cricket, first match played in Abu Dhabi T10 League in 2017, and now even the 100 ball cricket, which started from 2020. It always fascinates me to think about how different players would cope up with the requirements of different formats and how they will perform when put into a new situation. And because of that, I decided to pick the topic. And I feel this is actually a very interesting topic on if Indian team were to play a T10 game. If T10 were to come into the international setup, what would the ideal Indian T10 team look like today? To start off, some basics, some rules and overview of the format. This is a format which started with Abu Dhabi League in 2017 as we spoke about it. Initially, it got a lot of ambassadors, former players like Owen Morgan, Shahid Afridi, Sehwag, players that you typically associate with that format. Later on, this format has also seen the likes of Faf du Plessis, Nicholas Puran, Kyron Pollard, Mahesh Theekshana, some of the top leading players from across the world coming and competing in Abu Dhabi in a 10 over format. Since this is a 10 overs per side match, it gets over in around 90 minutes. In fact, the very genesis of having this format was that we can get into Olympics or get into a time frame where we can compete with other global sports like football or basketball. It has a 3 over power play and one bowler can bowl a maximum of 2 overs. On the batting side, there are no specific limitations. The team can have 10 players out and then the innings gets over. And in case the match is a tie, then there is a super over. And if the super over is a tie, there is another super over. So that way, the format is not very different from T20, apart from the fact that everything is all the action happens in a smaller time frame within the time frame of 10 overs. And that is what makes it very interesting because you think about it that there was a 50 over format, and then when T20 started, the game revolutionized because there was so much of change. Now, if I have to think about it, will there be so much of change if T20 shortens down to T10? And specifically looking at the team combination, the kind of players that I would want to pick in my team. So I started looking at some of the records in Abu Dhabi T10 League. So, highest team total 183. So that's a run rate of 18 per over. That has not been touched in T20 so far, but the last season of IPL, we did see scores of upwards of 250, which means that this impact is already showing up in the T20 format. Not to that extent. I mean, scores of around 300, we have seen even in international T20s, which means a run rate of almost 15 and over. Compare that to 18 here. So I don't think there is as steep a change in run rate, scoring rates between 50 over and 20 overs as there is between 20 overs and 10 overs. So that is one point. Now, if I think about the individual scores, the highest score so far is a century, 102 by Rutherford, which happened this year. And actually, that is the only century so far, which, in my opinion, is again consistent with what we have seen in the T20 formats. There would be one or two players who score their centuries in each season of IPL around the 10 over mark. So we have seen those scores coming up in the past as well. And I very clearly remember Abhishek Sharma and Travis Head last year chasing down a total of almost 150 odd against LSG in under 10 overs. The next thing that I was looking at is some of the batting stats for individual batters. Highest strike rate, Nicholas Puran has batted at a strike rate of 227 and an average of 37 across 55 matches in Abu Dhabi T10 League, which, if you really think of it, is an insane statistic. Alone on the strike rate point, I don't think it is way off from what you would see in IPL. IPL, you can see batters batting at around 180, 190, elite hitters batting at that strike rate, and an average of around 30 or 40. But to that extent, seeing what Nicholas Puran has done, I think it's more of an achievement on his part than I think it would be a norm in the T10 format. The next is looking at the bowlers. Leading wicket taker is Dwayne Bravo. 55 matches, 39 wickets, economy of 11, which is expected, and an average of 27. Now, one thing which I really, really wanted to check was, are spinners as effective in T10? Because if you remember, when we started off into that move to T20 format from 50 over, everyone speculated that spinners will go out of the game. But then that is where I start looking at Sunil Narayan's statistics. He has played 27 matches so far, 24 wickets, economy of 9, and an average of 17. And that gets me thinking that if a spinner is highly skilled, if a spinner has those variations, and if a spinner is smart with the lines and lengths that he's bowling, he will be effective even in the T10 format. Some notable fast innings that have been played in the format. Mohammad Shahzad a few years back played 16 ball 74 runs, hit 6 fours and 8 sixes. Puran more recently scored 89 of 26 balls with 12 sixes. And that leads me to think that whenever I'm thinking about my team, I want to have players who have those quick bursts, who can come in, bat for 15 balls, and give me a good score of almost 40 runs in those 15 balls. I want to have more of those kind of batters in my middle order, or for that matter, even in my top order. So, if I have to talk about what are the things that I look for when I'm building my 11, Indian Team 11 for the T10 format, I am looking for range hitting batters. I don't need anchors. I don't care about anchors because it is just 10 overs, 60 balls. I trust my batters to not be all out in those 60 balls. Instead, what I want to do is maximize the runs that I'm getting in those balls. So I want players who can hit hard, hit long, and can give me those short bursts of good scores. I don't really want players to go on and score hundreds in the format because that's not the right expectation. That is not going to have the team. I mean, that is not optimized. If a player goes on to score a century, that is amazing. That's good for the player. But even if he can give me a 10 ball 30, I will take it. So I really am looking at range hitters. And now is where the difference comes between when I'm creating a T20 team and a T10 team. I want genuinely good bowlers. I feel the value of a good bowler is going to be even higher in a T20 in a T10 game than in a T20 game, because he's going to give me 2 overs. Every bowler will give me those 2 overs with the ball, and they are absolute gold dust if the bowler can give me those 2 overs at a economy of less than 9, 8, 9 levels and can pick up a few wickets. That will be absolute gold dust. So I'm looking at genuinely good bowlers. Even if they don't bat, it's okay for me. I'd love to have all rounders, but then even more so, the value of genuinely good bowlers is going to be very, very high for me. I'm not going to have any bias against spinners because we have seen with the Narayan example that a spinner who is actually good will perform for me even in this format. They are effective in T20 means that they can also translate that effectiveness in this format. The next thing is I'm looking at variety in the bowling attack. By that I mean I want to have a right arm quick bowler who can bowl at the start of the innings, the end of the innings. I should have a left arm option. I should have express pace if I can have in the attack, because ultimately T10 format is a game of luck. The skill factor, as we move on from the longest format of the game, which is test match, to the shortest format of the game, the impact of skill on the ultimate outcome diminishes and the impact of luck goes up. So I want to induce as many variables into the game as possible so I can play around with matchups, with the situation of the game, with the ground dimensions. So I have all those options open for me when I'm playing a match. The next thing, which is all rounders in the team. Ideally, I would prefer to have all rounders whose primary skill is bowling and who can come in at lower middle order or at the start of the tail and then just give me a couple of big shots here and there. We'll see if we have those options or not, but then this is what I'm really looking out for. Other than that, I would pick all rounders any day in my team who can bat and who can give me an over here or there with the ball. But then overall, the value of a batting all rounder will be limited because even if I give him 1 over, he has to contribute 50% of what a pure bowler will do, which is asking too much out of a batting all rounder. And that is the reason why, given options, I would prefer to have bowling all rounders in my team. Now, with all of that said, since we have already spoken about T10 format, the broad overview of it, the rules, regulations, the statistics, and I've also spoken about what I am really looking at in a team in T10 format. Now, I get into the meat of the discussion, which is selecting my hypothetical 11, Indian 11 for T10 format. For this, I'll follow the same format which we have done in all the hypothetical 11s in the past. We will start with top order, then middle order, all rounders, spinners, pacers, look at what all options we have, and then give an opinion on which player would I really want in those positions. So, to start off with the top order, there are some really good options that we have from the Indian team from a few years back, but also from the very, very recent past. We have Shubman Gill, Ruturaj Gaikwad, Ishan Kishan, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Sanju Samson. We saw him open and be a binary act, a zero or a century. We also have Abhishek Sharma. I'm not considering Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli because they have announced their retirements. And honestly, maybe I might not have picked them anyways. But out of this lot, my number one batter opener would be Yashasvi Jaiswal, and the second opener along with him would be Sanju Samson. The reason Yashasvi Jaiswal is just such a unicorn. I think in the coming years he's going to be one of the best all format batters. We have seen what he brings to the table in IPL. He can bash the ball from the first ball itself. And Sanju Samson, he can keep for me. He's such an elegant batter when he's in flow, and I am willing to take that risk of him being a binary batter because some days he might just play a very ugly looking shot and get out, but on the other days, he will play some of the most amazing, breathtaking shots that we can ever see on a cricket field and take the team to a blowout victory. The other thing that it also enables me to do, and this is one of those things which I want as a trend in my batting order, is a combination of left and right. I'd always want to have a lefty and a righty in the middle because, as I said again, earlier, it maximizes the elements that I can play around with. I can play around with the field. It makes it difficult for the ballers to adjust and adapt. And those are the small margins which I feel are extremely important in such a small, short format. So, a left and right to start off with. Now, when it comes to my middle order, again, a plethora of options. I have Surya Kumar Yadav, Tilak Verma, Rishabh Pant, Shreyas Iyer, Hardik Pandya can be an option as an all-rounder, Akshar Patel, Washington Sundar, lower middle order although. So we do have a lot of options. We in fact even have Shivam Dubey, Rinku Singh. Out of these, I would want Tilak Verma as my number three. We saw what he did in the T20 series against South Africa, back-to-back centuries, and then in the domestic tournament also he was absolutely on fire. So Tilak Verma at three, Surya Kumar Yadav at four. Again, this three and four is, if you noticed, a lefty and a righty. So I might actually be very inclined that in case Yashasvi Jaiswal gets out, then Tilak Verma goes in at number three. And in case Sanju Samson gets out, Sky goes in at number three. So these two positions I can keep interchangeable. Number five for me would be Hardik Pandya. All rounders are always invaluable in a format like T10. So I'll have Hardik Pandya at number five. Number six for me is honestly Rinku Singh. As I said, I want players who can give me those short bursts of high scores. And we all saw what Rinku Singh is capable of. Some of the longest sixes, some of the most consistent batters who can hit sixes. Rinku Singh is one of them. He won the team KKR the match when they needed 30 of 5, hitting 5 sixes back to back to win the match. So Rinku Singh number 6. Again, you see that trend of a righty and a lefty, and I can switch them according to who got out. Number 7 for me would be Akshar Patel. The reason for that is he can score crucial runs, can be a floater across the batting lineup. With the ball, he can be very accurate, straight arrow darts that he can throw at the batter. I don't want to give batters a lot of loop, a lot of area to come down, step down, and hit the baller out of the park because that is what the batters would be looking at. So I feel Akshar Patel is one of those bowlers who will be better suited for T10 conditions. I was otherwise also inclined to look at other spinners, but we'll talk about that. So that is my 5, 6, 7. I have Hardik Pandya, Rinku Singh, and Akshar Patel. And this also factors in my all rounders, which is Hardik Pandya and Akshar Patel. A few players who miss out here are Shivam Dubey, an amazing hitter, but then I feel he's a bit undercooked right now. Had he been a better bowler, I would have definitely gone ahead with him. But right now, I feel Rinku Singh has been more consistent, and maybe this is also a personal bias that I would want to play Rinku Singh, specifically in this format where he's so specifically suited for T10. I feel that I was really inclined to go ahead with Rinku Singh. Then other players who missed out are Washington Sundar. I feel it was between Aksar and Washington, and I think Aksar is a bigger match winner, has performed in those crunch situations. A few batters who miss out from the middle order, Rishabh Pant and Shreyas Iyer. I would have been really, really inclined to go ahead with Rishabh Pant, given the hype and the aura that he has around the cricketing world across formats. But I feel it hasn't really translated into the shorter formats of the game as much as it has in the longer formats. Shreyas Iyer again is a really good batter, but I think his best format is around the 50 over format, around the ODI format, where he has had some of his best performances. Now, coming to the spinners, I have although already picked up Akshar Patel as my one spinner, but then there are a few really good spinners that we can select from. Yuzi Chahal, Kuldeep Yadav, Ravi Bishnoi, and Varun Chakravarti. Yuzvendra Chahal, I feel, has kind of been phased out of the team, has already seen his best days past. Kuldeep Yadav 2.0 has been such a resurgence. He's in the purplest of the purplest patches of his career. But I still feel that one issue with Kuldeep Yadav is on days where he gets hit, he just goes out for runs and runs. He will have good days, but he'll also have those bad days. And he's one of those bowlers who likes to give flight to the ball. And I'm a bit circumspect of giving that to the batters. And as we saw with Sunil Narayan, mystery spin works really well in this format. It's just 2 overs, and before the batter can really figure out the bowler, what is happening, how's the pitch reacting, uh, the over is finished. So for that reason, I'll go ahead with Varun Chakravarti because I want a mystery spinner in my attack. And for that reason, even Ravi Bishnoi misses out. It was really a close call between Varun Chakravarti and Ravi Bishnoi. And in fact, for the longest period of time, while creating the team, I had Ravi Bishnoi in my team because he's again quick through the air, amazing googlies, those variations can come in, and he does not leak runs. So, but then because I want a mystery spinner, I go ahead with Varun Chakravarti. Now, coming to the pace bowlers, it goes without saying that one of them has to be Jasprit Bumrah. He is the best bowler in the world right now, best bowler across formats and across the phases of the game. He can bowl the first over, he can bowl the last over of the game with equal effectiveness. He's one of those players who is a jack of all trades and also a master of all trades. So I definitely want to have him in the team. The next one would be Arshdeep Singh, given his form in the T20 formats and given the fact that he's one of those very few left-handed quicks that I can bring into my team. For the variety that I spoke of before, I will want to have Arshdeep Singh in the team. The third pacer and also my number 11 player is more of a vibe pick. As we always do in this pod, we have a lot of reason rational for all the other players, but then one or two, we go with our biases, our imaginations, and what we are feeling in that moment. And for this reason, I really want to go ahead with Mayank Yadav. Although it's been really sad, all his injury concerns, he comes in, plays 3 matches, 4 matches, gets injured, goes on a 4 5 month long break. But what if that does not happen? What if we really see that potential that we saw in last IPL translate into match winning performances for India at the international level? Bowling at 155 clicks an hour with that consistent line and length, rattling batters across the world with his pace, beating Australian pace batters with pace. That was insane to look at. So I go ahead with Mayank Yadav as my number 11 player. To sum up, I have left and right combinations across my batting order, starting with Yashasvi Jaiswal, Sanju Samson, Tilak Verma, Surya Kumar Yadav at 4, Hardik Pandya at 5, Rinku Singh at 6, Aksar Patel at 7, Jasprit Bumrah at 8, Arshdeep Singh at 9, Mayank Yadav at 10, and Varun Chakravarti at 11. The captain of the team will be the stand-in Indian captain because of the kind of results that he has gotten for the team, Surya Kumar Yadav. And the coach, I would really want the team to be coached by Ravi Shastri because I want that intent through and through the team. And number 12. This is where it gets really interesting. And I think number 12, I need a backup for one of my pacers. So I will go ahead with Mohammad Shami. So that is it, guys. This was a fun exercise of creating or thinking about what an ideal T10 team should look like and creating my own Indian hypothetical T10 team. And maybe sometime in the future, when SS is back, he can give his own take on this team. Does he think it is a good team, a bad team, or a team that will get rolled over by the opposition in this format? Maybe we will get his hot take on this. So stay tuned for that. And all of you who celebrate Christmas, are enjoying their holidays, waiting for the New Year's, wish you a Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. And enjoy your holiday break.